Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Warrior of Light Bartz, Neo Vision Awakened. So we're going to talk about his base form, his Brazier form, his strengths and weaknesses, as well as his sample rotations and sample builds. I'll also give my final thoughts at the end. And Wall Bartz NV is physical damage dealer in base form, specializing in wind physical attacks with absolute mirror of equity chaining. And when he brave shifts, he turns into a wind support unit with a support LB attached to him. All right, so let's get into it. Base form strengths. Warrior of Light Bartz is a wind-based physical damage healer in base form. He specializes in absolute mirror of equity change and has wind imbue and amplify skills. Headwind blade. 3 uses per battle, unique selection and multicast, does physical damage 130 to one enemy, and also decreases wind resistance 120 for 5 turns to one enemy. AMOE chains. Second attack is Sword of Quest. It adds wind element to physical attacks for 5 turns to one ally, and also adds wind element to physical attacks for 5 turns to caster. So imbues himself and imbues one ally. Physical damage 32 to all enemies, absolute mirror of equity. And then Soaring Blade, physical damage 66 to all enemies, increase wind physical damage 20% for 5 turns to caster. Also increases wind magic damage for the same amount and the same amount of turns. Absolute mirror of equity. Alright, so these are the attacks that he gains in Neo Vision form. So he can equip all types of weapons, so nothing is changed there. And also armor, making him extremely flexible gear-wise. He has a natural 100% wind resist and confuse immunity. He can also cast up to level 6 white, black, and green magic. So since Wall Bartz can equip all the weapons and all the armor, is very easy to gear. He can equip all the trial weapons that have killers on them. So gear him appropriately depending on the trial or the monster you're going against. He gains permanent triple cast upon his Envy Awakening, plus a cooldown skill that unlocks Brave Blade. So Brave Blade, before he was Envy, was his bread and butter skill. You would spend a lot of turns trying to increase the modifiers for his Brave Blade. It can only be unlocked at turn 4, I think, or turn 3. But now you can unlock, excuse me, you can unlock Brave Blade available on turn 1. So for the next turn, you can use Brave Blade on turn 2. He can also, the cooldown skill also buffs his attack by 300%. And also applies a 100% physical killer against beasts and plants. Also mitigates damage taken from said enemies by 30%. So triple job ability enables him to triple cast everything in his kit except the entrust skill. And then courage to face adversity is a cooldown skill. Increase attack 300% for 5 turns to caster. Increase physical damage against beasts and plants 100% for 5 turns to caster. And mitigate damage as well. His 7-star skills gets a huge modifier boost thanks to his new passives. He also gains 500 flat attack and more stat boosts for all his stats. Lastly, he autocasts a Wind Amplify self buff that lasts for 3 turns from the start of battle. Straight Sense of Justice gives him static attack increase of 500, increases modifier 26.6 to Geomancer Wind Slash, increases modifier 60 to Gladiator Blade Blitz, and then increase modifier 15 to Dual Spellblade. Fierce Winds increases his attack by 50% and increases his defense, spirit, HP, and MP by 20. Autocast the Wind Amplify skill, 10% for 3 turns of caster, but just for physical and magic damage. His LB also gets upgraded to match his Envy Awakening, so most of the NVAs before Wall Bartz Most of them didn't get their LB upgraded, but his did. He also gains a lot of passive LB damage and passive beast and plant killer. So adventurer's survival technique increases his LB damage by 150%. Also increases physical damage against beast and plants 100%. And then wherever the wind blows, upgrades his LB to NV levels, and then increases LB gauge fill rate by 50%. Also increases LB damage by 30. So lots of LB damage increase there. His upgraded LB is a non-elemental finisher ability that hits all enemies. Unlocks Brave Blade and fills his LB gauge by a random amount 1 to 36 on his next turn. It's called the Blades of Legend since he will wield all the swords from the previous or future Final Fantasy characters. Max level 1 hit 36 LB. Physical damage 135 to all enemies. Increase modifier 10 for 99999 turns to caster. Can't be dispelled. Brave Blade. Autocast next turn. Increase LB gauge 1 to 36 to caster. If you hit 36, he can use this LB again. Alright, so that's it. Let me just review. So he doesn't have active LB buff in his base form, but he does have a high LB damage. So you can bring a unit that buffs LB damage, like Lumina, Yoshikiri, Uraisha, so he can take advantage of his LB. Alright, so what are his weaknesses? Pretty much he just loses all his modifiers. Modifier boost for Brave Blade if and when he dies. So you have to go all through the process of powering him up again. So make sure he doesn't die. His Brave Shift to base form and vice versa have very long cooldowns, making switching between forms kind of like a hassle. So either you stay in base form or in Brave Shift form. This video is sponsored by Amazon Coins. Get 10,000 Amazon Coins for $80 instead of $100. That's a savings of 20%. You can use the Amazon Coins to buy Lapis for FFBE. I place a link in the description below. Check it out after you watch the video. If you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Azure. I upload FFBE and gaming content every day on this channel. If that's something you're interested in, then consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well and check me out at various social media. Links in the description. Okay, let's take a look at his Brave Shift form. He does gain a bunch of stats when he Brave Shifts. So if you look at this, he has 227 base attack in normal form. When he Brave Shift, he gains, he ups his attack to 265. So unfortunately, his Brave Shift form is not focused for damage healing. So not sure why that is. So alright, Brave Shift ability is available from turn 1, duration is infinite, and cooldown to normal is 3 turns. Cooldown to Brave Shift is 4 turns. With a quality of life change for FFBE GL, we can now choose between base form and Brave Shift form to start the battle. So you can start him in Brave Shift if you want to use his support abilities more, rather than have him damage. So resistances, same resistances. Same equipment types, and then Brave Shift form, he still has access to Soaring Blade. It is shared between his base form and Brave Shift form. Throw, he can throw items with the new throwable items that have chaining frames. He can use those, and for also the upgraded items. He still has a triple job ability, and he has this new ability. It's called Raging Winds. 4 uses per battle, unique selection and multicast, increased wind resistance 100% for 5 turns to all allies. It also increases, enables skill for 5 turns to all allies, Wind's Wake. So let's see what Wind's Wake is. So Wind's Wake is wind physical damage 30 to all enemies, so kind of poor modifier, but it does have a chaining family, AR chains or AR family. So it's good for support chaining. So if you want your allies to support chain and then wall Bartz can cap it, You can do so by casting Wind Wake. All right, so next is Blessed Wind Crystal, Warrior of Light Bartz. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, available on turn 1. Increase wind physical damage 45 for 5 turns to all allies. Also increases wind magic damage 45 for 5 turns to all allies. So this is what makes him the best wind support unit for now. 45% wind physical and magic amplification is really high. He's currently the only unit that has that in global, 45% for a specific element. He also pairs well with NV Faris that is on the banner is still on. So this is the main reason why I pulled for NV Faris. So they can pair together. He can increase the damage output of NV Faris by that amount, 45. It's really high. Also, if you bring physical damage dealers, they can also benefit from the 45 physical damage. So this is Bartz is going to be great for Dark Visions too on a wind team. He can also entrust, so meaning he can give his full LB gauge to another unit, namely Faris. Since Faris can only fill her LB for two times, because the Magnus that fills the skill that fills her LB can only be used 2 times. So Bartz can potentially entrust to NV Faris to allow her to hit more by using her LB. Alright, so next is Wind Cutter Blade, level 5. Wind physical damage 60 to all enemies. Chains Graviton Cannon. So this is going to be useful for chaining with NV Faris again. NV Faris is a skill, Bombardier Barrage or something. It's Graviton Cannon, but it's a non-element. Can only be used once. Is not affected with dual wield, but it does have a high modifier. I think it was 288. So Bartz can imbue Faris with wind, or she can imbue herself with wind, and then use this Wind Cutter Blade to chain with her. Graviton Cannon is kind of rare. I think NV Blossom Sage Sakura also has this among the Neovision or Neovision Awakened units. And then Courage to Face Adversity. He shares this skill with his base form. And then gain the job level 2. So you can also buff his modifiers here in Brave Shift form. Alright, so next is, let's take a look at his passive. Surgeon Vitality is increased static attack 500, increased LB gauge 5 per turn. That's good. He also has chain modifier cap of 200%. He can innately dual wield one-handed weapons. LB gauge fill rate 150%. He also has increased attack 150 and equipment attack 150 when dual wielding, so you only need 50% more. If you equip his TMR, you will get 200% at cap. And then Master Freelancer Warrior of Light Bartz increases HP 60, defense spirit MP by 50. And then autocast Soar Like the Wind every turn. Soar Like the Wind is increased wind resistance 80% for 1 turn to all allies if he has his TMR or SMR equipped. Pretty going to be useful if there's a preemptive wind attack from the enemy, or could be useful also in Dark Visions. If you don't want to gear your team for wind resist, he can just auto cast this. And then Adventure Survival Technique increases LB damage 150, and this he shares this with his base form. And then Fierce Wind also let's see, I forgot what it does. Storm Like the Wind increases physical damage 10 to caster, also magic damage for wind element. Alright, so that's it. And his LB is called the Breeze Breath. Max level 40, increase attack mag 280 for 5 turns to all allies. Increase LB damage 100 for 5 turns to all allies, and add wind element to physical attacks for 5 turns to all allies. Also costs 36 LB Chris. So interesting. LB, he does buff attack and mag, so offensive stats by 280. that's not a maximum buff you can get, but close enough. And then increase LB damage 100%. So that's going to be useful too if you don't have any of the units I mentioned earlier. Units that can buff LB damage or can rare for now. And then add wind element to physical attacks for 5 turns, so all allies. Could be useful to on a wind team, right? So he's really useful for dark visions. All right, so we're gonna talk about his TMR. So TMR is still the same. It hasn't been upgraded. Attack 40 and Traveler's Progression. Increase LB gauge 2 per turn. Increase equipment attack 50% when dual wielding. Still the same. But Bart's Blade has been upgraded. Still the same attack, 167. Element is wind, so it could be used. It is useful on wall Bartz, so you won't have to imbue him. But it does gain 50% physical damage against beasts and 50% damage against plants. So it's gonna be good, obviously, against beast and plant enemies. And these are his training families. He has AMOE, AR, and then Graviton Cannon. All right, so overall, all right, so talking about his sample rotation, it's either you use his envy skills. So you decide if you want to use him in base form for damage healing. You can use him for Brave Blade or for his LB, or you can just use Headwind Blade, Blade of Pursuit, or Soaring Blade. All right, if you don't want to bother using Brave Blade, it takes a while to get the modifiers maxed out. All right, so no rotation for Brave Shift since this is mainly a support form. Sample builds, you just use any. You can use any equipment and any. You can just make equipment based on the enemy you're fighting. All right. So normal form, you use LB damage, so you can take advantage of his large LB modifiers. You can also gear for physical damaging using Brave Blade. All right, guys. So final thoughts on Warrior of Light Bartz. Definitely worth awakening to new vision. If you can UOC him, or if you can omnipresent him, I would. Maybe use some tickets on the banner so you can get some Warrior of Light Bartz. We do have an increase in rainbow rate, so maybe you could pull a few copies of him. Really good TMR, really good SCMR, very good wind support, best wind support unit in the game right now. Really pairs well with Envy Faris. So if you build Envy Faris, think about awakening Bartz. All right, so that's it for now, guys. Hopefully this has been informative. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything. My name is Azure. I make FFBE content and other gaming content every day on the channel. And if you're interested in that, consider subscribing. Also, my membership for the channel has been activated. You can see a join button next to the subscribe button. If you join, you will help me make content for this channel by contributing a specific amount every month. So you can see tiers there for the amount and also the benefits you will give. So for the lowest tier, you can get access to my emotes. You can use them when you chat with me and when you comment, and also chat with me during live streams. You can also see a badge next to your name depending on the how many months you've been a member of the channel. So if you're interested in that, guys, click the join button and take a look at tiers. I'll be really appreciative if you could contribute to the channel also. All right, guys, thanks for all the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.